Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to the United Truth, and I'm just giving you your UT update of today. Okay, so in Manchester United news, just want to go through some early team news for Saturday. Absolutely huge game. Keep the momentum going. Obviously, it looks like we are sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, otherwise they would have sacked him just before the international break. So it's important that we continue from the Everton game. So after the international break, a little bit of team news, early team news at the moment, and there's two potential absentees, and they are two of our main centre backs, and that's Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Harry Maguire, I did notice yesterday, someone, I think he went up for a jump, and someone trod straight on his foot. And Victor Lindelof has been complaining about a back injury for the last few games. I think it's been for the last month or so. I could have quite easily said a joke that he's been carrying Harry Maguire, but I don't think Victor Lindelof's been carrying anyone, to be honest with you. But just in general, this would be a massive blow if we was to miss any of those two. They are Ole's go-to centre backs, even though there's been calls at different times for Bay, there's been calls for Tuanzebe since he's been back. These are his two favourite that he prefers to play. He'd rather play them in form, watch him get skinned by opposition countless times and get bullied, then try something new. So for a manager, I want him to feel comfortable. So if he feels comfortable with these two, this could be a massive miss completely. What I will say about Harry Maguire, even though I was just being a little bit harsh on him, he has come into a little bit of form. I know it was just Iceland, but he's come into a little bit of form. He looks as though he is improving his confidence. He's coming back. I'm not too sure how much of that court case was getting to him, or just in general, he was just on bad form. That can happen as well. I've seen it happen with Rio. I've seen it happen with Vidic, and maybe it could be a situation where I've just mentioned Ferdinand and I've just mentioned Vidic, and I've mentioned him in the same breath as Harry Maguire. So maybe we're judging him a little bit too high because of his price tag, when in reality, if we just said to ourselves, he's a good, solid Premier League player and he's a good Premier League defender, then I don't think that'd be all sorts of. I don't think there'll be this type of scrutiny on him. I think it is literally the price tag and kind of what we expected from him, because I think that Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool has completely clouded everyone's views on defenders now. So if you're nowhere near the skill level of Virgil van Dijk, you're pretty much shit. But at the end of the day, I've seen defenders have worse games and not get the same sort of criticism. So it is a lot to do with the price tag. But I think at the moment, he would be the bigger miss. A few months ago, it would have been Victor Lindelof. But one thing I will say about Harry Maguire is if there's an injection that's needed for him to keep going and to play with the foot injury, I think he definitely will. He carried on playing for England. Now, for me, as a Manchester United fan, and I've never played for England, obviously, I would have come straight off with that, thinking about the weekend, thinking we're playing Iceland, and at the end of the day, I mean, I've seen championship teams appear better than them. I'll give England all the credit that they deserve. But Iceland were really, really poor yesterday, really poor. So I know that Maguire was enjoying himself, but if he is injured, maybe he should have come out off a little bit earlier. But at the end of the day, he's a leader, he's the vice captain for England. I think when Henderson's not there or whatever. So he feels a responsibility at the end of the day. So I can't really complain about that. But with a little bit of experience, you might just want to take yourself off. I'm sure they would have probably done that elsewhere. So yeah, but with Harry Maguire, I've got a good feeling that he will play. But with Victor Lindelof, this has been like an ongoing issue. I'm surprised that he went to an international break, because there's been murmurings about that he's been playing for the pain barrier anyway. Not knowing the character, but just how he comes across, he doesn't seem that robust. So I think maybe he's one of those type of players that could do with a rest, and in that rest, then that's when you can start to bring in a player like Tuanzebe. And Tuanzebe, for me, he should be pretty much fit now. He only got half a game away in Turkey. He came on as left back, so a lot to do with Tuanzebe could be to do with the left back situation. Is Telles, has he got COVID? Has he not? I'm hoping. I don't think that he has, and I think that he will be available to play. So it could be time for Tuanzebe to stamp his authority, and maybe he and Maguire could start a little partnership where Lindelof might struggle to get into the team. If he was to miss the two, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do a little bit of catching up, but I'm not too sure where Bailly is, whether he's been training again with the first team. So maybe someone could let me know with that. But I'm sure that he might still be injured. But if he's still available, then Tuanzebe and Bailly at the end of the day, good centre backs, good speed as well, good in the air, especially Bailly. So yeah, but I haven't heard much of Bailly. The only person I've heard from Bailly is his agent. So his agent has come out and says that Bailly will be looking to leave if he's not giving enough first team opportunities. So maybe that's a sign that he is available and he doesn't want to be sitting on the bench, which at the end of the day, you can't complain about the ambition. He'll be looking at some of those centre backs, and even though he hasn't had a good run himself, he'll still think that he's better than both of them, to be quite honest with you. And I can completely understand that. So Bailly at his best for me is probably the best one. So that'd be quite interesting. But yeah, so that's the early news anyway, that those two are doubtful. I've got a funny feeling that Maguire will make himself available, whether it's painkilling injections. I think he'll make himself available. But I think that this might be a game where Lindelof might be given a rest as well. I mean, we could potentially go with three at the back. McTominay plays at the back for Scotland, so maybe it might be McTominay at the back with Tuanzebe and Maguire with his back, and then that allows us then to push to bring on Pogba, make sure that Pogba plays, make sure that we find a space for Van der Beek as well. So yeah, that's just the early team news. Just maybe two might be out and maybe not. So the next part we want to go through. There was a game a couple of days ago. It was the Manchester United under 23s. Was it last night? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Was it last night? I watched some of the game. But yeah, so Neil Woods, who's the manager of the under 23s, has had some words to say about our new signing Pellistri. So he was discussing Pellistri, and he got asked the question about Pellistri. And what he said is that basically Pellistri has been pretty much with the first team. So he came and played against Morecambe. I know that Man United got absolutely battered 4-0, but he's got the full 90 minutes, and basically he's looked good in training. He's looked good in training for the first team. So I think that this might be a situation where we might start to see Pellistri getting a few minutes here and there. I know that. I mean, we've got the Carabao Cup. I'm not too sure if that's coming soon. I'll have to look at the calendar, but I think that we might start to see him getting like little 5 to 10 minutes, or maybe away at Everton in the Carabao Cup. He might get a half, he might get a good 60 minutes. I'll report what I saw against Morecambe. So for me, I'm not going to talk about the whole of the under 23. I just want to stick with Pellistri, but you could literally see that ability wise, United looked like they had a lot more ability, but literally Morecambe strength and the age group is just completely different. It's a really good idea what they've done with this, to be honest with you. I think it's great for the under 23s that they've been doing this, but we say under 23s, well, I'm talking about that there was players 17, 18, 19, and was playing against big men. So Pellistri, I wouldn't say that he stood out absolutely massively, but he stood out enough. I saw little bursts of speed. When he generates speed, he's quite hard to push off the ball. He can beat a player. Sometimes his final product isn't there, but that's something to work on as well. You could see that certain players had to use their strength as the older players for Morecambe, just to kind of push him off the ball. It seemed as though he can slow the game down a little bit as well, which is good. I mean, slowing the game down as in not always like trying to beat his man every single time. So there was brains there. It wasn't just literally all speed and losing the ball every single time. Not the easiest game for him to come into either against Morecambe, but these 90 minutes for me are quite important because he does look like someone who's got quite a bit of potential. I did a video on Diallo, and I said that Diallo looks like the special talent, but there's no doubt that I do see something in Pellistri. I mean, it reminds me, it seems really lazy what I'm going to say, but with like Daniel James, like when I saw the clips, and when we was back to sign, we saw the game against Man City and stuff like that, I think I see similarities with Pellistri. A little bit more strength with Pellistri. I see a little bit more pace with Daniel James. And I think with these type of players, if Manchester United ever go a goal ahead, and for whatever reason these guys are playing, and teams are having to come on to us, I just think that both potentially be lethal. But again, it is early days, but it does sound quite positive. He's training a lot with the first team, so it's not a case of that he's just playing for the under-23s and he's training with the under-23s because he's nowhere near ready. It seems as though they're trying to get him up to speed in a new country, so he's playing the under-23 games. He's getting quite acclimatised to playing with the first team, so that can only be positive for the future. Any more news? Marcus Rashford, there's been conflicting stories. I did see one to say that he's still in injury doubt, but then I saw another report to say his shoulder looks as though it's recovered. He needed the rest. He did the right thing not going to England. I think, for me, and this is what I like, there would have been no need for Marcus Rashford to go and play for England. And again, it's very easy for me to say because I've never played for England, and I know that he would have great pride. But if you're feeling a little bit of a niggle and you're going away with England where people are catching COVID left, right and centre, people are picking up injuries, and you've Jordan Henderson who's injured now for Liverpool against Leicester, he did the right thing, because he would have played in at least 2 of the 3 games. And the way that he plays, there's a lot of muscle injuries that are going on at the moment. So just take your rest. Just take your rest. But it does look as though the report seems a little bit more clear when they said that it looks as though that he might be fit. Early team news-wise, anyway, because it's quite important that he is fit, because I think Martial, he was on the bench for France last game, but I think he's been struggling with his back as well. So that's what these international breaks bring up. We don't know who we're going to get back. Cavani might have COVID. That's another early team news situation. So Cavani might have COVID. Apparently, I think Torreira, the older Arsenal midfielder, I think he got COVID, and he might have passed it on to Cavani. So we'll have to find out about that. Any other players? Bruno's played he played the 2 games. He didn't play the first game. No problems with injuries there, which is vital for us. And Pogba seems like he might be up and running. He seemed like he was fully fit, even though he gave away the first goal in the game against Norway or Sweden. He came back and he started pulling the strings from that deep line goal. So that can only be a positive as well. So there's no other early team news. We all know that Luke Shaw's injured. That's one that we do know. And that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah. So, and Greenwood has been back in training as well. But that was, I think that everyone knew that anyway. He wasn't injured. He was sick. So apart from that, there's nothing else. We might, obviously, in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference tomorrow, I'm sure that we'll get a little bit more of an update, and we'll find out who's in and who's out. But yeah, that's the update as far as today goes, and I'll be on to the next one. I'll catch you guys later. See you later.